Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good evening. It is 6:01 p.m. and I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the San Marino Design Review Committee of November 15, 2023. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Staff roll call, please.
Committee Member Lakon,
Present.
Committee Member Cheng,
Present.
Committee Member Batnich,
Present.
Vice Chair Chow,
Present.
and Chair McKay.
Present.
And for the record, alternate Committee Member Torgerson is present in the audience.
Thank you. The agenda is posted 72 hours prior to each meeting at the following locations: San Marino City Hall, the Kroll Public Library, and the Stoneman Building. The agenda is also posted on the city's website. The city welcomes public input. At this time, the public may address the Design Review Committee on items that are not on the agenda. Pursuant to state law, the Design Review Committee may not discuss or take action on issues not on the meeting agenda. To ensure that everyone, including those joining us remotely, are able to hear all speakers clearly, please speak directly into the microphone. Please note that all comments are limited to 3 minutes and will be timed by city staff. I would now like to ask staff to explain how the public comments will work for those individuals who are participating via Zoom or phone.
Members of the public that are participating through Zoom can participate by using the raise hand feature for public comment. At that time, you'll be promoted to a panelist. You'll see a pop-up on your screen that you should accept. That'll give you the privilege to share your video and speak on Zoom. Alternatively, you can email us at planning@cityofsanmarino.org with your public comment.
Thank you. Does anybody present here wish to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please come to the microphone and state your name and city of record. Seeing none, staff, do we have any public comments submitted electronically?
No, there are none.
Thank you. We'll move on to the public hearing. Each committee member has received plans and staff comments and has reviewed every item on the agenda and visited each site. The general order for hearing each case will be as follows. Staff will discuss the case and provide background information and a recommendation. Committee members may ask questions of staff after the presentation. The applicant will then present the project if they desire to do so. The committee may take the opportunity to ask the applicant or applicant's representative questions. The hearing will then open up for public comments, both from in-person and teleconference participants. At the conclusion of public comment, the applicant will have a chance to respond to the public comments, at which time public comment will be closed. I'll then ask for comments from each committee member for discussion and ask my committee members not to repeat comments made by our fellow committee members. Committee members may then vote to approve, deny, or continue the project. In the event of a denial, it is hoped that the applicant will have heard the comments made during the public comment period, during deliberation as well, that will be useful in resubmitting an application. It's also important to understand there's a 15-day appeal period after an action has been taken for the applicant or any interested party to request the Planning Commission to review and act on the case. We'll move to agenda item number 1. Staff, who will be presenting item number 1?
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yeah.
I will be recusing myself for items 1 and 2.
Thank you very much. And that is for 1 and 2, correct? Okay, and alternate committee member Torgerson. Okay, staff will be presenting number 1. Oh,
Thank
there we
you,
go.
Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. This is Assistant Planner Eric G. presenting. The project is a continued item from September 6, 2023 DRC hearing for the request to install the Presidential Shakes TL Solaris in the Autumn Blend color. The project was continued twice. The first hearing took place on August 2nd, 2023, and was continued to allow the applicant to reconsider other roof materials. And after consideration of other roof materials, cost and availability, the applicant returned on September 6, 2023 DRC hearing to propose the same material, Presidential Shake TL Solaris in the Autumn Blend color. And the DRC continued the project to allow the applicant further time to reconsider other roof materials and provide additional quotes from different contractors. The applicant made several attempts and received very limited responses from contractors. If the the Design Review Committee feels there is evidence to support each finding, they should approve the project. And conversely, if the commission feels that, or committee feels that they cannot make one or more of the required findings based upon the information presented, they should suggest a condition of approval to address the relevant concern. And if one cannot be crafted to address the concern, they should then deny the project. Also pursuant to San Marino City Code, the DRC shall consider the cost of materials when raised as an issue by the applicant. For finding 1, that the proposed roof is architectural compatible with the existing residence, or sorry, compatible with the neighborhood. There's one neighbor at 2390 Ridgeway Road under case number DR 22-19 that was approved to install composition shingle roofing materials by the DRC to meet the finding. Findings 2 and 3 are not applicable to the project. And finding 4, that the color and material are consistent and match the existing building or structure. The proposed roof material in Autumn Blend will be installed throughout the structure and the color is consistent and compatible with the home. Staff was also able to identify 2 properties that are identified under a citywide historic research survey as potentially individually significant Tudor revival style homes that existed with composition shingle roofing materials that were also identified as an element of the significance. And based on the provided information, staff was able to recommend approval for the proposed project. And that concludes staff report. Staff is available to answer any questions and the applicant is available as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Planner G. Do any committee members have questions for staff? Okay. Thank you. Does the applicant or the applicant's representative wish to speak on this item? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you have a maximum of 5 minutes. Okay. All right. I'll now open this up then for public comment. Is there anybody present here who wishes to make a public comment on this item? State your name and city of residence for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, here we are again. My name is Stephen Jones. I'm a resident in San Marino, 2390 Ridgeway Road. I live across the street from the applicant. I'm here to offer my support for their project to re-roof their home with the asphalt shingle material, the Presidential Shake.
Mr.
When we were
Jones,
here last.
is it possible to speak into the microphone, please?
Or lift it.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
is that
You
okay?
can, does
Okay.
it lift
Yeah,
up?
you-
You can just lift it up if it's.
Is that
yeah,
okay?
You don't, so you don't have to.
Lift it up.
I have to hold it.
Yeah.
You want me to sing? So in short, the applicant has taken many steps to secure additional pricing. They have gone out to 4 independent contractors for pricing. The pricing for the presidential shake has ranged on average from $40,000 to $45,000, depending upon the contractor. And then the next best bids that they receive for the project begin around $88,000 and goes up to $135,000 for alternative synthetic materials. The existing roof is about 25 years old, so the existing roof, the current roof on the home has no historic significance. It's not original to the home. The home has no official historic designation. It's old, the home. The asphalt shingle presidential shake is consistent on a lot of older homes in the area. The applicant was able to go to more prominent parts of San Marino and find more prominent homes that had the asphalt shingle roof established on their homes. So again, I think it's a real stretch to ask the homeowner to not approve this project, but to put on a more expensive synthetic material that could be in the price range of $90,000 to $135,000, when one of the existing materials that's on the approved list would cost them no more than $45,000 and be very consistent with their home, with the architectural significance of their home, even though it has no formal designation. And I'm here to support that. And if anybody has any skin in the game, it would be me, because I'm the one who sees the roof every single day, probably even more so than the homeowner, because my house faces it directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Does anybody else present here wish to speak on this agenda item? Staff, do we have any public comment requests submitted electronically?
No, Chair.
Does the applicant wish to respond to any public comments? No. Okay. At this time, I will close the public comments, bring the item back to the committee for discussion. Okay, Committee Member Chang.
Well, I appreciate the homeowner has spent extra effort in trying to find the right roofing for their lovely home. And after reading all they have done in the staff report and the staff recommendation, I concur with the staff report. Therefore, I will be able to support this application as presented.
Thank you. Alternate Committee Member Torgerson.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think it boils down to me that the presidential shake is compatible with the architecture. I've noticed that a lot of the homes in the Tudor Revival style in San Marino have very tight, very flat shingle, the original roofs, I think, in a lot of cases. And I think this fiberglass does imitate to the closest what that looks like. It's a very low profile, and these steep roofs have very low profile materials on them. So I find it is compatible with the architecture and of course with the neighborhood, with the other home that already has a composition roof. So I can support this this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member Batnij.
We have essentially the same agenda, the same item before us today as we had the last time, and the time before. I think we gave some clear direction to the applicant, and we heard the same story last time that, you know, they have I guess one response to one quote or from one roofing company. You know, to me, that doesn't, it's the same item as last time. There's no new information from what I have gathered. So for me, it's still something that, it's still an agenda item that I would not personally support this evening.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I think I still have the same concern I've always had. I have difficulty finding that this proposed roof material meets the finding number 4. Yes, we have seen some samples from neighborhood, other properties, but I still don't think a composition shingle is suitable for this property. I just still have difficulty finding that it meets findings number 4. And I do, into consideration the cost discrepancy, it is quite a bit for this particular project. But I also wonder that because we've only seen one bid, one quote. So echoing committee member Batnich's comment as well. So I don't know if we need further discussion or not, but my position is basically consistent with my previous comments in the last 2 meetings.
So I'd like to have a little bit more discussion. So Committee Member Batnich, there was the additional information provided regarding cost. I just want to make sure that it's clear from Assistant Planner G that that is something that can be discussed. And I don't think we had that in the previous. We had asked them to do certain things, and I think they have made an effort to do something.
I may have misspoke slightly. We had one bid that we saw last time, and I saw the same bid on paper again. I mean, having a lot of experience and frustrations myself with having a couple of roofs, I do know that it is hard to even get a roofer to show up sometimes. So I do recognize that there is quite a lot of effort involved, and that is taxing on the homeowner. And I also recognize that this particular home, we've had many meetings where we have approved composite shingle for, 5 or 6 homes, let's say. And this particular home, I think, is really quite an exception. I think that it is, yes, I think cost is a factor. It should be a factor. But in this case, what I see is that, we have been, I think, quite generous as a body in having the applicant go. We have encouraged the applicant rather than denial. We have encouraged the applicant once to go back and find a new, explore other options. Then we did that again, and we're still in the same situation. It starts to almost feel like, is there a sense of not taking the advice perhaps of the body? I just also want to, as I said last time, I want to acknowledge that this is a difficult situation, but I think we gave the applicant twice to go and explore other options. And I understand that it is difficult to get a roofer to show up, and most roofers have like one thing that they really want to put on your house, and they sell you on that thing. And sometimes you have to reach out to many different roofers to get other quotes.
Are there any other comments from the committee?
I'll just make one more comment on the cost. I'm being in the industry for practically my whole life. I realize that when you go to, let's say, 3 or 4 different bidders, even you have the same specifications, same everything, you end up with 4 or 5 prices anyway. It all depends on how busy they are and whether they want to do the job or they have the time to do it. So I'm not basing on this decision on cost only, even though there's a major factor. Roofing they come and go too. It's just a matter of time. There are trends. We just gone through an entire roofing study last week. We look at a lot of things, and also I respect the homeowners' decision on what they like on the roof to some degree, unless it's absolutely incompatible or architectural disaster. I try to respect their selection. It's a combination of factors. So of course, cost is one of them. All those, like Da Vinci, the bid that come in high, they are known to be expensive. And if you go that route, I don't care how many bidder you go to, it's going to be over 100,000 on that material for that roof, guaranteed. So the composition shingle seems to be the lower price of all the comparison that we looked at, that based on the last study that we had. So if cost is a major consideration for the applicant, I think as a body, I would at least look at that and say, is that decision going to destroy that house or disaster to the neighborhood? I don't think so. I don't think by putting this roofing material is going to make, in my book, is any different to the neighborhood per se. It may have a little different feel and look of the house, but it's their home. And I don't think architecturally would destroy that cityscape. So that's my decision following with the staff report. I don't think we should make it so difficult being rainy now, rainy season is going to start. And I think I personally would like to help our neighbors to get a solution that they can get a safe and watertight home for the winter. I mean, that's my book. So I just want to offer that comment.
Any other comments or input?
I'll just add one thing. I support everything that Committee Member Chang has said. I also knew that I was going to be asked to weigh in on this. And so I did spend some extra time trying to understand Tudor Revival and what was compatible with that architecture. And the shingle, the original shingle wood roofs, which are much lower profile than a shake roof, as we know, were what was used on this Tudor Revival, if it wasn't slate. And I believe that this composition roof will imitate the best. It'll have a lower profile. I think the home itself stands out. These roofs are very, very steep in terms of what was characteristic of the Tudor Revival. And there's a community that I visited recently this summer down towards Carlsbad that has a lot of this style of home. And they're all very tight roofs, very low profile. In some cases, they were the original either slate or shingle, but they have been replaced by composition because of the fire nature of where we live. So I don't want to be disrespectful for the different opinion, but this is what I feel is actually going to be the best roofing material for this particular home. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or input?
Yes, if I may. So it's the committee certainly has spent a lot of time, and especially this is the third presentation in front of us to consider. And Member Wilson brought up the English Tudor style. I have some information I just want to kind of point out because it's included in staff's packet. This is the citywide historic survey that was published and included in the staff's packet. I believe it was the supplemental material. It talked a little bit of history about this particular property, and it's designed by notable architect William Winslow. And as his own residence and completed in 1927, it retains sufficient integrity to express its historic architectural character, following character defining features. And in 3.56
you can hear it. Can you hear it?
I think you're too close to the microphone.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so in case it was not very clear, so I would just say that according to the city's historical survey, the city appears eligible for listing as a city of San Marino historic landmark. And it goes on, and it says designed by notable architect William A.O. Munsell as his own residence and completed in 1927. And it went on to say that it retains sufficient integrity to express the architectural character through the following character defining features. And listed, the second one says steeply pitched gable roof with a prominent front-facing gable and wood shingle roofing. So, I mean, it's here, it needs to be considered. Of course, there are other factors as well, but I think it is a important factor, characteristic that I think we do need to consider.
I concur completely with the comments made.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I make just one more comment on this. I appreciate those article and how people's opinion is, and I think we're looking at a home that is 80, 90 years old. We all live in today's world. Just look what happened in the last 3 year pandemic had changed the whole world. As an architect, we design what is the best material at that time. This home were built in the 30s or 20s. They picked the best material and the most appropriate material at that time. Of course, today's requirement is very different. With the Title 24 requirement, energy saving, recycling, being green, has changed a lot of architects, quote unquote, the ultimate architecture. What are we trying to achieve for the city? And what are we here to look forward for a current world? So we cannot just say that, well, you have to go back to 1937 or 1927 and you rebuild exactly the same way it was. There are reasons that we are making changes in material. As you can see from the last week's presentation, all this material that we looked at, including this material from Da Vinci, it's basically it's a plastic material. Plastic is known to be flammable, and for them to research and make it fire retardant, it's a big job. It took about 10, 15 years of research to get it there. So I think we just need to kind of live forward and look forward with what we are looking at today. I just want to make that comment about a 1 century-year-old building material that we're trying to say that, well, you got to stay with that. That's something that I think we should be fair as a body. I mean, including myself, is to look at, put yourself in the homeowner's situation. Spending $100,000 may not be the right thing for them to do at this time, and not allowing them to deny the application to replace a roof. I think that's a little bit too much in my book. And so I just want to make that comment before the chair make that decision and her conclusion. So I just want to share that.
Just kind of briefly responding to those comments, which of course are good points. I don't think that, well, not that I don't think, I know that this body did not go back and say this has to be wood shake. We purposely gave leeway and said, you need something that looks more like wood shake or looks more like it belongs on a Tudor home. That could include wood shake if the applicant looked at all of their options. We recommended that once. They came back with the same material. we recommended it again, came back with the same material. So this is, I think that we're not tying anybody's hands to one material. We're not tying their hands to wood shake. At least that is not my intention. I think in a perfect world, it would be wood shake perhaps, but I understand that there's a lot of roofers now are unwilling. Some insurance companies are unwilling. So there's issues around that. But I just want to clarify that it's not, in my opinion, this does not have to be wood shake, in my opinion.
Any other comments? So this is a very difficult one. I have great respect for all of my fellow committee members' comments, the information they've shared, the thought they've given this, and the consideration that they've given this. I find that on the first element, we can find that it's compatible with the neighborhood. The record will show I voted no on a previous application in the legal neighborhood. But as things stand right now, as we've seen in the record, there is a property with a composition shingle in the legal neighborhood, and there is the other one in the legal neighborhood as well. So I can find that. And you know, I don't think that the roof. I know that the roof is not a permanent alteration for the home or an aspect of the home. I appreciate, in a perfect world, it would be wood shake. That is for sure, in a perfect world. But it's not a perfect world right now, and it's not a permanent alteration to this home. It's not going to be a permanent alteration to this home. And we continued this twice and asked the applicant to provide additional information. And they, I don't think it's correct that they only provided one estimate. I think they've provided more than that. And, you know, the simulated wood shake, we directed them, and I think it's 120K was what I saw, I'm not surprised right before the rainy season that it's impossible to get anybody to return your calls. And, given that we have been directed through staff, through the city attorney, that the committee can consider cost, it's starting to feel like we're imposing that cost on the applicant, and I am having a hard time with that. I was not in support of it previously, but I think I could support it tonight based on the current record. And based on all of the information that's been presented tonight. Do we have a motion?
I just want to correct myself that you're correct. I had not seen the second quote. I had looked at this many times. I don't know how I missed that second. We were provided an additional quote. I just wanted to correct myself because when you mentioned it, I went to look.
I appreciate that. It was very steep.
Just to clarify, in regards to the quotes, one is the Da Vinci is over 100,000, but the other one is not, right? We all know that.
Right.
Okay. The other one is 79, I think.
About 80,000, yeah.
But we're starting to compare, I think it's alternate committee member Torgerson who made the point that these are none of these are natural materials.
So Chair, if you like a motion, I would like to give it a try.
Okay.
I would move to approve design review case number DR 23-44 at 2405 Ridgeway Road for the replacement of the existing wood shake roof with Certainty Presidential Shake TL Solaris in the autumn blend color per staff report.
Roll call, please.
Oh, a second. We need a
Oh,
second.
we need a second. Sorry. Right.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alternate committee member Torgerson,
Yes.
committee member Cheng,
Yes.
committee member Batnich,
No.
Vice Chair Chow,
No.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
We'll move on to agenda item number 2, from which I must recuse myself, and Vice Chair Chow, I would request to preside.
We're moving on to item number 2. TR 23-04 at 2460 Cumberland Road. And do we have a staff report, and who's presenting the case?
Thank you, Vice Chair and committee members. This is Assistant Planner Eric G presenting. The applicant is proposing to reconstruct a retaining wall that is facing the public alley. The original retaining wall collapsed, and the applicant is proposing to reinstall in the same location with 2 inches setback from the side property lines. The applicant has twice sent out certified mailing to the neighbors regarding the proposed project, but did not receive any responses. If the design review committee feels there is evidence to support each finding, they should approve the project. Conversely, if the committee feels that they cannot make one or more of the required findings based on the information presented, they should suggest a condition of approval to address the relevant concern. And if one cannot be crafted to address the concern, they should then deny the project. Finding 1, that the proposed retaining wall is architecturally compatible with the existing residence. The new retaining wall will be consistent and consist of concrete masonry unit with stucco finish in white color. Will be matching the adjacent neighbor at 2470 Cumberland Road in height and the color. The neighbors along Cumberland Road also all exist with the retaining wall and matching height of the proposed retaining wall along the alley to meet the finding. Finding 2, that the proposed retaining wall is consistent with the size and location of the retaining walls on the block on which the property is located. The proposed retaining wall will match the size and location with the neighboring walls that is facing the public alley, as mentioned, to meet the finding. Finding 3, that the proposed retaining wall preserves sightlines and otherwise located in a manner not to create hazard to pedestrian or vehicular traffic. The proposed retaining wall will be maximum 8 feet from the public alley and 5 feet from the interior side of the property. There are accessible driveways. There are no accessible driveways or walkways leading into the subject property from the alley or to the immediate adjacent neighbors' properties to create any hazards to pedestrians or vehicular traffic to meet the finding. Finding 4 is not applicable, and based on the information, staff recommends the approval of the project. That concludes staff report, and the applicant's representative is available to answer any questions as well.
Thank you, Assistant Planner G. Does any committee member have any question for staff?
Yes, I
Yes,
do, Chair,
please.
Vice Chair. I just want to make sure that I was looking at because I want to make sure that I was looking at the correct retaining wall in the alley. This is the one that currently has like some fencing, some what do you call that kind of fencing?
Construction fencing.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Correct, yes.
Construction fencing.
Yes,
Okay.
the property was approved for a new home a while ago, and they're currently in the construction phase.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure I was looking because there were 2 and I wasn't sure which one.
Do we have, yes, please.
One more question for staff. Looking at the retaining wall detail, they obviously they didn't show any footing in there. Is the builder here or is the owner here? Because I want to make sure that we understand what they are building back and how they are going to build back.
So the footing detail you can find on sheet.
Look at the detail on the.
It's the where the proposed rear wall elevation will be. If you look at the top corner, is a structural the footing detail that we generally provide to applicants as a standard detail drawing. It's part of the plan. It would be part of the plan. So if you look in this sheet at the top.
Yeah, but that rendering is just a picture. It does, I'm more concerned with how they're gonna build it back. Maybe the applicant, we can ask them, because
Yes.
what happened is that the wall is at property line. And the footing has to go back inside.
Right, and that's where I believe the detail shows that in the drawing. It's very small. In the top, yeah, in the top corner.
Right,
Yeah.
that's small detail. And they need to go back 2 foot 4 inches backward. And then it will, where the last structure is, that may be a challenge. So I just want to talk to them and make sure it's not gonna be another big problem. By
Yes.
doing that, it may cause another problem that I can see.
Mhm.
So maybe I can talk to them. If you don't have any further information, then I'll ask.
Okay.
Thank you.
And committee member, this will still be plan check by our building plan check, which hasn't reviewed this yet. This is just basic, this is just the architectural plan without the structural plans being included.
Understand, but if we approve this plan, they will pretty much have to build it per this little detail on the back page of that. And meaning that they will have to dig up the entire area for the footing work. So it will be pretty much completely taken out to do the footing and then build a wall. So I just want to make sure that they understand what they're doing. Sometimes when you see a plan, is doable, is fine. If it's not doable, we need to tell them now. I would at least let them know that it is a potential problem. I don't want the neighbors to tell us later that we got a situation that is a big problem. That's the only reason. I understand that plan check will check it structurally, but is it the constructability become an issue that when we approve, we want to make sure that it's buildable and it's doable. So I just want to ask that question to the applicant.
I think it's an excellent question to ask the applicant. I think from staff's perspective, we just want you to ensure all of you that the project still requires plan checking engineering. So if there were any issues and alterations that need to be made, depending on those alterations, that would either come back to you, or if they were minor in nature, that's something that the director can improve at the staff level. But excellent question. We'll wait for the applicant.
Sure.
But just to, once again, just to reassure everyone here that once something is approved, it gets plan checked. And if there's issues, depending on the gravity of those issues, it's either something that can be resolved at a staff level, or would have to come back to you for review.
Thank you.
Any other question for the staff? Thank you. It's the applicant or applicant's representative wish to comment on the proposal. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Scott Wells, I'm the project manager for 2460 Cumberland Road, San Marino, representing Rick Emmett, the applicant. And thank you for your questions, Raymond, about the retaining and the buildability of the wall. Let me give you a little bit of background. The garage is very close to the rear property line, 2 feet away.
Sir, if you can speak into the microphone.
And at that time, there was a field decision made to deepen that footing below the alley elevation, 18 inches below the alley floor. So that footing was deepened during construction on the garage. So essentially now the block wall is ready to go. There would be no issues with building it, with retaining. It's set up, ready to go.
So if I hear you correctly, you deepen the footing of the garage
Yes.
along the alley side to pass the alley elevation.
Below
So
the
you're not
alley.
retaining the weight of the garage that it will slip over and fall into the alley.
Exactly. And that was a field decision made by the inspector and myself at the time of the footing
Wow.
inspection.
I mean, a good decision, because if you did not do that, then when you start digging the footing now, you're gonna have
It would have been a
another
mess.
issue. Okay,
But thank you for your concern.
okay, appreciate that. I just want to make sure that I understand that, and that's why I asked. Okay, appreciate that answer.
Any other questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Does any other member have any other questions for the applicant or in representative?
One more, if I may, one more question. The finish facing the alley, I know using 16 by 8 block wall, is it just gonna be as is, or you're gonna stucco it with the same stucco finish of the garage and all of that, or how is that gonna be finished?
Excellent question. We're gonna stucco it and it's gonna match the existing house and it's gonna match the neighbor's block wall, which is the trowel finish. You think stucco is like no big deal, but it's the authentic trowel finish, that which is the fabric of the architecture of San Marino. So we're gonna respect the finish and it will be done exactly matching the house and the neighbors to the east of me.
Okay. I appreciate all of that. So those will be part of the minute so that we understand that that's your intention and we'd like to see that happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I will now open up the item to public comments. Does any member of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, staff, do we have any public comment requests submitted electronically?
Yes, Vice Chair, Rick Emmett. It's not clear to staff if you wanted to provide
He's here.
public comment. Oh,
I don't know if someone else is online, but
okay.
he just spoke.
Sir, was it you that raised your hand on Zoom? Is that him?
I thought Rick was the owner, no? So can staff clarify if we have any public comments electronically?
Yes, Rick Emmett has been given the opportunity to speak, so he can also provide.
Oh, thank you. I just connected now through your invite. Thank you, committee and staff. Scott is a partner in the project, and the project manager, Arthur Fong, is the architect, and they know this project well. We have been laboring on this for years, and it's going to be spectacular. Just want to voice appreciation and support.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I will now close the public comments and bring the item back to the committee for discussion. Do we have any comments or questions from the committee? I'll start with committee member Torgerson, please.
I really have very little to say, except that it looks like it's going to improve the looks of the alley.
Committee member Chan?
Yes, this will complete the entire development correctly, and I am happy to hear the answers I got from my questions. So it's the right thing to do. I can support it.
Thank you. Committee member Petnich?
Yes, the comments that we heard from the applicant's representative were very reassuring and no issues with this whatsoever.
Thank you. I can also support the project as presented tonight. Do we have a motion?
I'll give it a try. I move to approve design review case number DR 23-04 at 2460 Cumberland Road to construct a new retaining wall in the rear yard abutting a public alley per staff report's recommendation and condition.
I'll second that.
So we have motion by committee member Chen and second by committee member Petnich. Staff roll call, please.
Alternate committee member Torgerson,
Yes.
committee member Chang,
Yes.
committee member Batnich,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Chow.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
This decision is final unless appealed to the planning commission within 15 days. So we'll move on to item number 3.
Moving to agenda item number 3, design review case numbers DR 23-12 and DR 23-102 at 2830 Wallingford Road. May we have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair. For the record, this is Assistant Planner Sasunian. The applicant proposes changes to the front facade and the installation of sliding doors in the rear of the residence that are not from the pre-approved window materials list. The project requires 2 design review actions. The first action is for design review case number DR 23-12, which pertains to the front facade changes that altered the appearance of the structure as viewed from the street. Specifically, the changes to the front facade include the following 3 parts. The front entry door changed from a single door with 2 symmetrical side lights to a double door with no side lights. The front entry landing material changed from a mix of red brick and painted concrete to stone tiles. And in the front porch, new custom wood columns were installed. The staff report incorrectly states that these new custom wood columns replaced the existing wood posts. Based on the homeowner's description, the columns are built around or wrap around the existing posts that are supporting that porch. Just to clarify that for the record. The second design review action is for design review case number DR 23-102, which is the request to maintain the Geldwen fiberglass sliding doors. Design review is required since the fiberglass material is not pre-approved. This project is before you today because staff noticed these changes during an inspection for a permitted window replacement. During that inspection, staff noticed changes to the paved front yard walkway that leads toward the subject residence. Neither the windows nor that front yard paving is a topic of discussion for this project. There are 2 design review findings that apply that must be made for this project. They include finding number 1 for neighborhood compatibility and finding number 4 for matching and consistent colors and materials. Staff recommends denial since the findings for compatibility and for matching the existing materials cannot wholly be made. If the project is denied, the applicant will be required to restore the facade back to the previous design. If the committee, after the public hearing, feels there's evidence to support each finding, they should approve the project. Conversely, if the committee feels that they cannot make one or more of the required findings based on the information presented, they should suggest a condition of approval to address the relevant concern. And if one cannot be crafted to address that concern, the committee should then deny the project. Finally, a photo and materials board is provided by the applicant. I'll pass that around shortly after this. Otherwise, that concludes staff's report, and staff will be available to answer any questions. The homeowner is also present to provide their narrative. If you don't mind, I'd like to get that board real quickly. Thank you.
I think, Sevag, if you can just give it to one member and they can pass it around. Yeah. Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Assistant Planner Sasunian. We'll just give a minute to go over the materials.
To clarify, so the
Can
I
you-
think it's labeled incorrectly. Oh,
Can the question be, thank you.
Excuse me. I'm asking on this materials board, it shows what I believe I saw today as the current front door, and it's labeled current front door, but there's another picture that says previous front door, and that doesn't, I was just asking to clarify if that's correct, and it seems it's not correct.
To clarify, so in the photos that were attached to the staff report, you'll have the pre-existing condition of the front facade with a single door that you can reference. The photo on this board that you're holding, it's the same door that currently exists, the double door that they're requesting approval for.
Right.
One photo is with the iron decorative feature and the other is without. It was staff's request to remove the decorative iron feature because we couldn't find compatibility. So they're hoping to get approval for it without it. Yeah.
If I, so what's currently there is, it's without it, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't want to,
I apologize for the confusion.
okay, that's okay. Thank you.
If there are any questions for staff that are not based on the materials board, for example, please proceed.
I have a question. The porch looks like it's been altered. Is the step up into the entrance to code?
So the step up is in what we reference in the staff report as the front porch landing or the
The
front
landing.
entry landing. So it was altered in the sense that the brick and concrete that was there was replaced with that stone tile that you'll see on the material board. It's not clear to me if the height of it changed. However, if this project were to be approved, for example, and a building permit was issued to legalize the change, the building inspector would go out and verify that the dimensions or the construction of it is to building code, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it looks awkward. Like something has changed since the material, when the material was changed. It looked like maybe the height or the landing looks off. So I was wondering if it was, I know I can tell it has been changed since in the last couple of years. So I was wondering if you knew this was to code or not, but you answered my question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing and hearing none, does the applicant or the applicant's representative wish to comment on the proposal for a maximum of 5 minutes? Please come forward to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is Ehab Shahawi. I'm the current owner of 2830 Wallingford Road. So I submitted a response to the findings of Mr. Sassoonian, and he said he had shared that with everybody. I just want to review that with the board. And basically, there's a few items that were brought up, and I'd like to go one by one. The columns in the front are the existing columns, as Sevag mentioned. They were not structurally changed whatsoever. This was a wood wrap that was put around them to make them more attractive than the stick columns that were there previously. Our general approach was to make the house more appealing. We actually got several of our neighbors to review the design and to sign their consent for the work that was done on the property. And we were able to get 6 of them that I was able to contact in person to sign off on it, that they really liked the house. They really liked the changes that were made, and they were all cosmetic changes. There was actually a person a couple doors down who used to be on this committee, and he said, we did a very nice job and it looks very good. As far as supporting the requirements, the size of the column was brought to, or the look of the column was brought to our attention in the report. And there's a house right behind us on the street behind us. And the address is noted in the email I sent with photo included photo of that front porch, which has a column that similar to what we put in. And then a few houses down the street, which are not in the supposed neighborhood region, but it's right down the street, that a couple other houses that have had also enhanced columns similar to ours that look very nice. So I'd like you to consider that in your review of the columns. As far as the front porch, a question came up about, was there any modification made to it? The front porch was exactly that dimension, that height, that entry porch. And what we did was we put just a layer of the thin stone tile on it to match actually the house right across the street that has a similar tile, similar color, and similar tile right on their front porch. So I don't think that was anything out of the ordinary or very different from the look of the neighborhood. The front door, it's the same size front door. It is a double door instead of a single door with lights. It has double doors with lights as well on them. If the color is not acceptable, we could always paint the door. But the door is a high quality door that was replaced, a door that was rotting and falling apart. That leaves the back sliding doors. I believe JELD-WEN is a pretty good product, very high quality. We considered replacing the back doors with the same materials as what we replaced the windows with, but that was, they were $12,500 per door compared to the JELD-WEN, which cost us about $2,500 per door, but we're equally, according to several people we spoke with, our architect and others, that it was a very high quality door. So those are our points. I'd like you to consider them and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Do any committee members have questions for the applicant?
I'll give it a try. Did you work with any architect on your project before the remodeling and all of that? Because what happened is that you said you talked to some architect about the cost difference and all of that, but I think it just please answer whether you have worked with any architect on your overall scheme of the remodeling.
Yes, we did. Alex Angel is our architect, and he's been in contact with SEVAG quite a bit throughout the process.
So he was involved in the job in the beginning, design it and tell you what to do, that kind of thing?
Correct, yes.
Is he here today or no?
No, unfortunately, he had to go out of town this week for business.
Does he know that in order to do all that work, you need to get through a permit process, including coming here for the design review?
I'm not sure if he knew that or not, but he didn't tell me we had to get permits for replacing and non-structural items. We got permits for the roof that we replaced. We got permits for the windows that we replaced because we knew when he told us those are items we need to get permits for. But the other items which were non-structural or more just hard, just the look of the house, upgrade look of the house that were non-major factors. He did not tell us we had to get permits for those.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's unfortunate that all those quote unquote cosmetic upgrades or cosmetic improvement works directly with why this board is created. We do not look at the structural. We want to make sure structurally it will sound. Yeah. Building department review those structural changes and make sure that they're safe structurally. But this board review the cosmetic changes to maintain the integrity of the home and the compatibility of the homes in the neighborhood. So it's unfortunate that he didn't know that you missed a big step.
Yeah, he had not done any business in San Marino before and was not aware of the committee, and neither had we. We had not done any other upgrades of properties in San Marino before, but I've been in the business of, not really business, but just as a side thing, my wife and I have bought houses, we fixed them up, we've sold them in many other parts of LA, and we've never had to go through a design review committee. So
Right.
this was unusual for us. It was not something we thought even existed until we found out about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's the question I have. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll now open up this agenda item for public comment. Is there anybody here present who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, hearing none. Staff, do we have any comments that have been submitted by the public electronically?
No, Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll close the public comment portion of this agenda item and bring it back to the committee for discussion. Committee Member Batnij.
When I went to see this house, the first thing that jumped out at me were the columns being very, very chunky. They just look out of scale for the house. I understand that the columns there before were very dainty or kind of plain, and I think that they could have been dressed up a little bit, but I think that what was done was just too much. You know, as far as the other issues, it's true that like that stone tile doesn't feel like the right material for that area. I don't know if it's so out of I don't know if it's so incompatible that it should be removed, but the front door is also not, it doesn't really fit the style of the house either. So I don't really know what to say except that it doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. It wasn't designed in a way that is really compatible. I don't think it's radically incompatible, but it doesn't suit the style of the home. I don't have a very strong opinion about the sliding door. I don't the sliding door in the back. I should have asked if that is if that door is something that if that brand or style is something that we have on our pre-approved list, but it does look a little bit off to me, but I don't really have a strong opinion about that. I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Vice Chair Chow.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's hard for me to support the project. I pretty much agree with staff's findings, and in terms of the front porch wraparound columns, I think it's way out of scale. It doesn't look right. Even that you could see the particular elements used in other homes, but that doesn't mean that it's compatible with this property. Front door, porch, all that. I just find it's always difficult when a proposal, a project is approved clearly to do certain things, and the projects veer off and went ahead, did something just different. Also in this case, I just don't find the changes are compatible with the property.
Thank you. Committee Member Lakon.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow committee members, and going through the changes, I cannot support the wood post, the modifications. They're out of scale, too heavy, and it's not compatible with the architecture. The stone entry, I find not compatible with the architecture or the neighborhood. I also find that there is a missing step, or something has been altered, and that the home, walking out of the front door, when you step off the curb, you step out with nothing. And it seems like it almost looks hazardous, and is something that we don't see in our city. And I think that is not compatible with the home or the neighborhood. The windows, the sliding doors in the back, I looked at the MLS listings from when the house was listed a few years ago, a couple years ago, and the back had windows that were not very compatible with the house. I couldn't, I don't find these to be particularly any better, but they're in the back of the house and I don't find them to be much worse than what was there originally. So I could be more supportive of those. And what else? Is there anything else? The front doors, the two front doors, the style of the two front doors are not compatible with the house. I think that the original door and the side light was compatible, and that these two new doors, maybe a door with a window, but the two doors that I see here are not compatible with the style of the house. So tonight I could not support the changes, and I agree with staff findings.
Thank you, Committee Member Chang.
Thank you, Chair. This is pretty much what we talked about all night long, is that it's unfortunate that the applicant's architect missed the whole review process, and having just pick pieces of elements that they think will be an improvement without understanding the totality of this home, and understand the style and the architecture of the home, and just add a little bit here and there and thinking that will do wonder is unfortunate. So it won't work. I cannot support what's being done so far. I would suggest the applicant will gather his architect to understand the design review guideline and look at the totality of the building and come back with modification so that whatever improvement they made to be quote unquote compatible. Those columns, if you look at the size of the column versus the thickness of the eave line, the column is bigger than the eave line. So it's so lopsided that it won't work. The original home was much more simple and minimally designed, and so it works. But once you start making big elements in certain area without understanding the whole structure, that won't work. So I cannot support it at this time, but I would definitely suggest them to work with some qualified designer to look at the whole thing and try to make the correct improvement.
Thank you. I concur with all of my fellow committee members, specifically on the columns. I find that they are not compatible with the structure itself. And, the existing elevations that are provided in the plans show the well thought out design of the original home. I had thought that perhaps they were consistent with the legal neighborhood, but I've been informed by staff that that's not even correct based on what the actual legal neighborhood is. And regardless, they're not compatible with the structure itself. The front door changes are not compatible with either the legal neighborhood or the structure itself. Again, with the front entry, same, not compatible with the legal neighborhood, not compatible with the home itself. Like Committee Member Batnage, like Committee Member Lakon, I don't have an objection, I think, to approving or to making a condition that we would eliminate the sliding doors. I don't have a strong opinion on that, given that they're in the back. So I don't have a strong opinion that we're seeing that it's incompatible with the neighborhood. I haven't, examined, changes that have been made, or the backs, the back of the properties in a legal neighborhood. So I would welcome any discussion on that if we wanted to make that a carve out or a condition, but otherwise it would be a denial for me. Thank you. Any thought on?
Yes, I can also support, go along with the back changes, sliding doors.
Oh, excuse me. It's also two different design review cases, so we might perhaps, if I'm hearing some consensus, we might be able to approve one of them and deny the other.
Staff, is it correct that DR 23-102 is only the windows?
That's correct for the two sliding doors.
Okay. So back to my fellow committee members and our discussion, is there amenability to perhaps approving that case number and denying the other one?
Sorry, 102 is for the back door, the sliding the glass door, right?
Correct. That's what
So-
I'm understanding. I want to be crystal clear. That is only the back.
That's
sliding
correct.
doors. And 23-12 would encompass the columns or posts, if you will, the front door, the front entry, all of that.
That's correct.
Yeah, so thank you. And if, with that understanding, I can go along approving 102, 23-102, which is the back with what's there, but the front would not be approvable tonight.
Okay. Can both DR design review case numbers be handled in one motion, or do we have to have two motions?
Staff will recommend two separate motions.
Okay, so I will move to deny design review case number DR 23-12.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call on that.
Committee member Lakon,
Yes.
committee member Chang,
Yes,
committee member Batnage,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chow,
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion to deny DR 23-12 carries 5-0.
And I'll make a motion to approve design review case number DR 23-102.
I second that.
And roll call, please.
Committee member Lakon, committee member Chang,
yes,
committee member Batnage,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chow, and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Design review case number DR 23-102 is approved 5-0.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is design review case number DR 23-87 at 1780 Homet Road.
For the record, it'll be Assistant Planner Sasunian giving the presentation.
Thank you.
The applicant is requesting approval for to remove existing wood shake to install CertainTeed Presidential Shake TL Solaris composition fiberglass shingle in the Solaris country gray color. Pursuant to the city code, the project is subject to design review since the proposed material is not found on the city's pre-approved roof materials list, and also because the project does not meet the prerequisite of having a composition shingle currently installed on the home. What's unique about this project is the legal neighborhood. It's smaller than normal, and that's because the residence is meeting the city boundary where San Marino meets the city of Pasadena. You'll notice a lot of the residences on that block of Homet Road have a composition shingle. However, those were not factored into staff's analysis because they're outside of San Marino. It's like comparing apples to oranges, if you will. However, one property which is located at 1765 East California Boulevard was found to be in the legal neighborhood. The boundary straddles both the city of Pasadena and the city of San Marino, and we could not ignore that in the analysis for this project. Staff is recommending approval and is finding compatibility with the neighborhood based on that residence located at 1765 East California. The other finding that applies is the finding number 4, matching the existing colors and materials of the building. If the committee after the public hearing feels that there's evidence to support each finding, they should approve the project. Conversely, if the committee feels that they cannot make one or more of the required findings based on the information presented, they should suggest a condition of approval to address the relevant concern. And if one cannot be crafted, then the committee should then deny the project. I do want to say the applicant has a presentation prepared for the committee after the staff's report. And that concludes staff's report. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Assistant Planner Sassoonian. Any questions for staff?
Have you, I see there's no gutters on the house. Have you discussed with the applicant the condition of gutters to be installed?
With every design review project, we have a preliminary consultation. Part of that is going over the pre-approved roof materials list. And on that pre-approved list, it lists the conditions for composition shingle. If the project were to be approved today, it would have to meet that condition for the gutters. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Maybe hear from the applicant or the applicant's representative. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Teresa Welder. This is my husband Wallace, and we live at 1780 Hommett Road in San Marino. Thank you again for taking the time to meet with us regarding the use of composition fiberglass for our ranch style home. To give you some back history, I wanted you to know that we really did our due diligence in trying to find acceptable roofing materials outlined on the website. We began an exhaustive search back in August when we experienced a minor leak from Hurricane Hilary. Coincidentally, we received a notification from our homeowners insurance stating that they had taken an aerial image of our rooftop and said that it needed to be replaced by April or they would not renew our homeowners insurance. So we're a little pressed for time. Upon working with 3 San Marino licensed contractors, which we found on your website, we learned some of the materials were either no longer manufactured, had sustainability issues, or they were not conducive for our home's needs. Additionally, some of the materials appeared to be experiencing supply chain issues, and others were cost prohibitive, and then some of them had dual issues. Our first contractor happens to be our roofer that did our home 17 years ago with Wood Shake. And he came back with another Wood Shake quote. However, I asked him if he could also give me another quote for one of the other materials on the website because of the longevity. It only lasted 17 years for the Wood Shake,
Not very long.
and also because of fire resistance. So he did come back. He gave us a really in-depth spec for the Wood Shake, but the Da Vinci that he quoted, he just did one line and just said it was $74,000. So the Wood Shake was actually also $74,000. So I went to a second contractor and he was a little bit more old fashioned. He walked the roof traditionally, took measurements, and his passing comment to me was, you know, if you had Burrell shake on here made of cement, I couldn't have done this because it would have cracked the tiles. And he also said to me that probably wouldn't be optimal for your house because he noted that we have 3 skylights in the middle of our home. And so I said, okay, fine, great. Could you give me quotes for other materials? It took him over a month to get back to us. And he said that he was not able to find any of the Burrell shake that was listed, cedar or Da Vinci shake. So I thought that was kind of interesting because the other roofer had said, oh, Da Vinci, but this one said that he couldn't even get a quote. So sadly, he did end up quoting us a Burrell Saxony 600 cement shake, which is not on the pre-approved list. And we were a little bit surprised because he had already said it wasn't optimal for our home. The third contractor I contacted took satellite imagery of our roof. And unfortunately, he also was not able to get quotes from any of those simulated shake manufacturers. He surmised that given current job that he had and speaking to other roofers in the area, that they were probably hesitant to give quotes because they were having some supply issues. He had some shake that was back ordered for 4 months that he placed in May, and he didn't receive it until September. So that was the only thing he could think of. He concurred that he didn't feel that the cement shake would be good for us because of, excuse me, it's too brittle. And given our skylights, he thought it would be, just wouldn't work for our servicing. And now he's still also waiting for a Da Vinci representative to give a quote. In the meantime, he was able to get quotes for the composition fiberglass shake, the CertainTeed Landmark TL and the Presidential Shake TL, which is listed on page 2. With his quote, which included all materials, including roofing supplies, base plywood flashings, repair of dry rot, sealing and painting of all protruding pipes and vents, and installation came out to be between $38,000 and $40,000. So given the lack of options, I did do some additional research, and I found another company called EchoStar, who are direct competitors of Da Vinci. They're located in New York, but I was able to find their own Orange County representative. And he worked with our third roofer, and their quote came out to be over $80,000. EchoStar, the materials alone were $50,000. And so our roofer basically said that cost for him to install with all the other things was because it's a very slick shingle, and that he has to make sure that each one of his workers is on special harnesses, and they have to move much more slowly. So that's the reason why it's a little more cost prohibitive. Anyway, it's not on the pre-approved list anyway, so I just moved on. I did have an interesting conversation with the EchoStar representative, who told me, and whether it's true or not, he said that cedar was bought out by the original family, and evidently the cedar is not meeting their warranties. And because of the Southern California heat, it's curling and turning green. So I don't know if that's true or not, but he thought that maybe that was because it was designed for Colorado. In any case, it could be impacting the supply to Southern California. So with the rains coming and the added pressures of the insurance company, we are really feeling pressed to get this new roof up. The rains have already started coming. I just wanted you to know, we did receive 6 of 7 neighbors that approved going with composition fiberglass, and the 7th who did not respond actually is the one with composition fiberglass. So we provided a summary of tonight's presentation for you guys, as well as copies of the presidential. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us tonight. Based on all the information, the problems with basically the fire ratings, applications for our needs, durability, and cost, we would appreciate if you would consider this for us. We are on a fixed income. We are both retired right now, so it is the $40,000 to $80,000 swing is quite a bit for us. But anyway, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Do any committee members have questions for the applicant?
Is she available to be on a roofing committee?
I'm just kidding. So much about roofing now. It's actually fascinating. Thank you.
I have, are there other colors within the Solaris that you
I
had
just
looked
went
at?
with
Are you,
whatever one you approved.
was on the
on the
list, but is
website.
there a color near that color that are you only, I don't want, if our committee approves it tonight, is this the color that you really wanted to match your house? Or is it the one right over one?
Well, it was the one that was on your list, and I just didn't want to make more waves, so I was just gonna go with
That's why I was
whatever,
asking.
country gray.
Country
Yeah, but
gray.
there's we have right now with the wood shake, it's sort of more brownish, so I guess maybe to the autumn blend would be closer, but anything is fine. We just we really want to get the roof in, and so we appreciate your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Any other ones? I'm sorry, one more question? One more question?
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So you were interested in autumn blend, any other colors?
I think that those would be, it would be fun. Honey, do you have a preference? Yeah. Those.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll open this item up for public comment. Is there anybody here present who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Seeing, hearing none. Staff, do we have any public comments submitted electronically?
No, Chair, we do not.
Okay. We'll close the public comment portion of this agenda item, bring the item back to the committee for discussion. Committee member Batnij.
Yeah, I think with the ranch style home, either this material would be fine. And I also think that the autumn blend or the country gray, I think would both look okay. I think maybe it would maybe look a little bit better in the autumn blend, but I think it's splitting hairs. I think maybe perhaps we could leave it up to the applicant.
Thank you. Vice Chair Chow.
Yes, I can also support the project as presented tonight with color options.
Committee member Chang.
The applicant has become such an expert on roofing. It's remarkable. Everything she talked about is what we spent about the last 2 months learning about what the market is like, and I appreciate your effort. And definitely I can approve that. And I would also go along with a choice of either country girl or autumn blend. It's up to the applicant. Find out whatever will fit their liking better.
Thank you. Committee member Lakon.
I agree with my committee members and I could support the project with those two options. And thank you very much for all of your thoroughness.
I also concur with all of my fellow committee members and could support the project tonight. Thank you very much. I want to compliment you on your presentation. Very well researched, and appreciate your diligence and really your due diligence in looking at all options and providing the committee with some, I think, very informative comments about, reactions and feedback that you received from various roofing companies and roofers. So therefore, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll move to approve design review case number DR 23-87 at 1780 Hamet Road for the installation of Certainteed Presidential Shake TL Solaris in either the country gray color or the autumn blend color, according to the choice of the applicant, with the added conditions that the residents install gutters and the conditions for composition shingle roofing material listed on the city's pre-approved roofing materials, colors, and applications list shall be applied.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Committee member Lakon. Committee member
Yes.
Chang.
Yes.
Committee member Batnij.
Yes.
Vice Chair Chow
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 5. Design review case number DR 23-89 at 2660 Huntington. Staff who will be presenting this.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. This is Assistant Planner Eric G presenting. The applicant is proposing to install Certainty Presidential TL composition shingle roofing material in the country gray color. The subject property is not identified on the citywide historic resource survey report, and there were 2 neighbors who did not object to the project and 6 no responses. If the design review committee feels there is evidence to support each finding, they should approve the project. And conversely, if the committee members feels that they cannot make one or more of the required findings based upon the information presented, they should suggest a condition of approval to address the relevant concern. And if one cannot be crafted to address the concern, they should then deny the project. Finding 1, that the proposed structure is compatible with the neighborhood. There are 2 2 properties within the legal neighborhood that exist with composition shingle. 2680 Huntington Drive has been permitted with the Landmark TL and the Shenandoah color. The other neighbor that's adjacent to the subject property, staff was unable to find the permit record for the composition roofing material. However, both these neighbors also face the Huntington Drive, and staff can make the findings. Findings 2 and 3 are not applicable to the project. And finding 4, that the colors and materials are consistent and match the existing building or structure. And the proposed composition shingle roof material will be installed throughout the property or throughout the home and will be consistent with the general color scheme of the home to meet the finding. And based on the presented information, staff recommends approval of the proposed project. And that concludes staff report. Staff is available to answer any questions and the applicant is present as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, does the applicant or the applicant's representative wish to speak on this item? Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Hello, Douglas Burnick, 2660 Huntington Drive. And I feel it's very unfair that I have to follow that previous applicant. I am not nearly as prepared. I'm copying her notes. So Hillary came through and I had a leak and I need a new roof. I wish I didn't. I did check with, a handful of contractors, and supply chain issues, cost prohibitive, and no longer being manufactured. I went with, I heard through the grapevine, presidential TL Solaris high def composition shingles has a really good chance of being what do you say? Approved. That's the word. I'm nervous.
Take your time.
And there was a 4 to 5 month wait. Did I say that already? I'm going to quote what Mr. Cheng said about, not about my property, but just using these words, maintains the integrity of the home and neighborhood. These presidential TL Solaris composition shingles.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much. We'll open this item up for public comment. Is there anybody here present who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Staff, is there anybody online who would like to submit a comment electronically?
There are none, no.
Thank you. At this time, we'll close the public comment portion of this agenda item and bring the item back to the committee for discussion. Committee Member Lakon.
I could support the project this evening presented due to the fact it's compatible with the house and obviously the legal neighborhood.
Thank you. Committee Member Chang.
I concur. Thank you.
Vice Chair Chow.
I can also support it.
Committee Member Batnish.
I can also support it.
And I agree with my fellow committee members. We can make the finding that it's compatible with the legal neighborhood and with the property itself. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve design review case number DR 23-89 at 2660 Huntington Drive for the replacement of the existing wood shake roof with CertainTeed residential TL in the country gray color, together with all the P-approved conditions and the city's P-approved list.
I'll second that.
Staff, may we have a roll call?
Committee Member Lakon.
Yes.
Committee Member Chang.
Yes.
Committee Member Batnich.
Yes.
Vice Chair Chow.
Yes.
And Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the last item on the agenda. Consideration of design review case number DR 23-101 at 2250 Melville Drive. And staff who will be presenting item number 6.
Thank you, Chair. This will be Assistant Planner Susunian for the record. The applicant is requesting approval for the installation of CertainTeed Presidential Shake Solaris composition shingle roofing material in the Solaris Country Gray color on the existing residence and detached garage located at 2250 Melville Drive. The proposed material and color are not found on the pre-approved roof materials list, and the project does not meet the prerequisite of having composition shingle currently installed on the home. For that reason, it's before you today. This is an after-the-fact request. The department recently received an application for an accessory structure. That accessory structure is not the subject of this review, should not be discussed. However, since the proposal was said to match the roof of the house and the garage with comp shingle. Staff did not find a permit for the composition shingle, and staff determined that it had to receive the design review committee's approval in order to maintain that roofing material on the home right now. Staff is recommending denial because of the inability to make the finding one for compatibility with the neighborhood. The legal neighborhood is primarily improved with the roofs have a either natural or simulated wood shake. And for that reason, the project does not meet this finding. If the committee, after the public hearing, feels that there is evidence to support each finding, the two applicable findings, 1 and 4, they should approve the project. Conversely, if the committee feels that they cannot make one or more of the required findings based on the information submitted to the record, they should suggest a condition of approval to address the relevant concern, and if none can be crafted, then they should then deny the project. This concludes staff's report. Staff is available to answer any questions, and the homeowner is also available. He'll provide his narrative afterwards.
Thank you, Assistant Planner Susunian. Are there any questions for staff on this agenda item?
I have a question. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make sure as I'm reading this, this is because it's an after the fact. Do we know if it's Presidential Shake Solaris, Presidential Shake TL Solaris, or if it's not TL?
I don't have the documentation to confirm. Usually what staff does is if a project were to be approved, we'll have the order receipt, and the product will arrive at the residence in the pellets with it'll identify exactly the material. In this case, I can't confirm for you. However, I believe the homeowner can speak to that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just want to clarify, the roof was replaced without a permit.
To clarify, back in 2015, there was a roofing permit obtained by the homeowner to re-roof to Cedar Light, which is on the pre-approved list, simulated wood shake. That permit expired. There was no final inspection, so it was not finalized. Somewhere along the way, the composition shingles that are currently installed were installed instead of that Cedar Light. So this again, that's why it's here to you today, because it was discovered in our review.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
I guess one more quick question is regarding the new application. So whatever decision happened to the front house, the new development should match that. Is that the city's position? While holding up the permit, you want to make sure that the two should be matching to each other.
That's correct. And so that proposal for the accessory structure is on hold right now because we don't know what's going to happen with the roof until the committee makes the decision. It would also apply to the garage as well. So if the shingles were not approved tonight, then the home and the garage would have to be re-roofed, and then the new accessory structure would have to match.
Right. Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Does the applicant or the applicant's representative wish to present on this item? Come forward to the microphone, state your name and address of record, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sean Khalili. I purchased the house back in 2014, coming from Calabasas. So back in 2015, January, we hired 2 companies to basically change the windows because all the windows needed to be changed, and also the roof was damaged, and we were advised to also renew the roof. Unfortunately, both of those companies, that one was supposed to watch the other, went bankrupt in 2018. They submitted pre-approved material to me as far as what's pre-approved for roofing. And the presidential, I think it was Certainty Country Gray color was one of the items. The contractor was the one who pulled permit. I did not pull permit for anything. When the windows were approved, the city came and looked at it, and basically they approved it, and we submitted that to SAVAC. We have a project of a pool and a bungalow. And we were trying to basically clean the area in the back and put the barbecue area in the back of the house. SAVAC has been very helpful. He's been helping us with everything. So when he saw the bungalow, he said, you don't have approval on this roof. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, you applied for, or whoever applied for this roofing material, which was cedar light. And honestly, I'm not an expert on, roof. I came from a house that it had shingles. It wasn't presidential. So when the colors was proven, posed to me, I said, if that's the city says country gray, because country gray, it's not really my favorite color. But, again, that's what it was put on the house and the garage. So at this time, our pool is approved and it's done. And our backyard, it's a mess, and we are pending for this bungalow. Or it's not even a pool house. It's basically we're trying to put everything at the back of the house. And that's basically it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I have a question, Chair. Thank you. I'm getting the sense that you might not know the answer to this, but it says on the what is written for us as a consideration is for the installation of Certainteed Presidential Shake Solaris shingles. Do you happen to know if it is Presidential Shake TL or not TL? TL means triple layer. I guess I'm curious, how do we, where do we come up with the idea that this is the material?
Okay, so again, since this project has been going on for over 4 months now for the pool and the pool house, SAVAC is in contact with the architect company, and basically SAVAC asked for receipt and information about, so I contacted the company that sold that particular material to the roofer, because I had to get the roofer information, and he gave me all the information. Luckily, that company is still operating out of Chatsworth, even though they got bought out by another company 4 or 5 years ago. So we have emailed Mr. SAVAC those information. I have them on my phone. I don't have them, printed out. So I figured that was basically, passed on to him. I just want to make one last comment also.
Wait, I'm sorry, before you go on, I just want to make sure. So that's what this material that's written here is, what was emailed to you by the company?
Yeah, by the company.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
The company, basically, because I don't know who Certainteed is, or who, what these are. And, and one last thing I want to say, we've been in Melville. We moved here because of our, the school district, because we have friends here. But there are 6 other houses on Adair and Roanoke that have the same roofing, and same exact. One of them actually, it doesn't even have the same color. I don't know how old it is, but because my wife and I were like, why is it only this color that has to be approved? Why couldn't we get the gray like these people that got the gray? But that's not our place to argue, but there are 6 houses around us that have that currently.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
One more quick question, Chair, if I may. So the people building your current project now, their intention, your intention is to try to put in the same roof that you have currently installed that was questionable, permitted? What are you trying to do? I just want to understand what is your
and I tell you,
desire.
Mr. Chang, I tell you, I lost my job right after COVID for about 9 months, and I put my house for sale. And 19 people came and saw it. And again, I understand times were different back in 2020. And everyone made a comment like, oh, in San Marino, you have to be perfect. How come you don't have a bathroom in this guest thing? I mean, there were people who were trying to buy this house that had more excuses and everything matching than anything else, So I, knowing that live in this town for almost, 10 years, I know how particular people are. So I didn't want to have a bungalow with a different roof and, having the house and the garage, same exact roof that it was on a pre-approved of city. And again, unfortunately, both of these companies are bankrupt. I can show you the bankruptcy paperwork, and they have claimed me about $140,000. And I don't know. So that's
So you want the roof on the bungalow to match the roof of your main house, is that correct?
Yes.
That was my question. I just want to make sure ultimately, what do we get at the end of the day in the
That
neighborhood?
it's on a pre-approved, the country gray certainty presidential shingle.
And I guess I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that will your roofer be able to find out what's on your roof now, the one that in the main house?
Yes, sir. He had to come and look at the roof, and he also came and provided me the person that sold the material, which again, we forwarded that to Mr. Savak through our current architect company.
So staff have the actual information of what's in there now. So we'll be assured that if we approve that, the accessory building will be one roof rather than 2 different kinds or 3 different kinds.
Is at this time, respectfully, I'm not sure if I can speak to what Sean is talking about. I'm not sure exactly what piece of information I might have received. I can confirm though, there would be a rough zoning inspection before, let's say if this project was approved for that comp shingle and they were to install the comp shingle on the new accessory structure. At that rough zoning inspection, we would verify the material before it's installed and compare it to the home to make sure that it does match. So there is a mechanism in place to address that. I can't speak right now to the specific document.
I guess my biggest thing is that what are we approving to?
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern,
Well,
because if we approve something that without knowing exactly what that is and in writing, what if that does not match what's out there?
I would suggest we have to do that during a discussion. Can we table that for committee member
Can I
discussion?
ask you, do we have to make a condition for that? You called it like a rough inspection? A rough check or something?
Yeah, it's the rough zoning inspection. You do not have to make a condition of approval for it. As a reminder, I'd like to respectfully remind the committee that the accessory structure is not part of this review. However, again, if the comp shingle was approved for the residence in the garage, staff still has to make the finding that when they do build the accessory structure, that the building colors and materials match. So that's how we match it to the main house. And again, the rough zoning inspection would be our method of confirming on site what's ordered for the accessory
Mhm.
structure and comparing it to the main house. We'll also fall back on the building inspector's expertise.
So if
Do-
if there are more questions for staff, I would just ask before, are there any other questions for the applicant? No?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
you.
very much. And do we want to reopen the this, the portion discussing with staff? I mean, do we have any more questions for staff?
I would like to ask a question of staff if that's okay.
Director, shouldn't we reopen that portion of the discussion? Yeah. All right, so we'll reopen that portion of the discussion and let's hear
Okay.
them all now.
I was just wondering, again, I understand what you are saying about that, making sure that someone would be ultimately making sure that the materials match if it gets to that place. I guess my question is, would someone be able to match? I mean, this is probably going to come down to like the same exact material, but a slightly different thickness. And personally, I think that this might be TL that's installed on this home. I may be wrong, but will someone be looking to that degree of detail? That's my question.
Thank you for the question. The staff is very careful with the inspections when we do that. In this case, it's unique, of course, because it's been there for such a long time. It's been maybe weathered a bit and all that. What I want to say, and I might ask for some help from my supervisor here, but I think perhaps a way to address the committee's concern would be to have staff verify whatever the material is that you're approving tonight. We'll have to
So I think, if I may, thank you, Seva. The question here is, what is installed on that roof? We obviously have the homeowner who's stating that, based on the information that he has obtained, is that this is CertainTeed Presidential Shake Solaris. I think if this committee is going to entertain a approval, I think the best way to do that would be to continue this project so that staff can confirm what's on the roof, or that you approve the roof based on the notion that this is what is stating to be. And I would have to work with the city attorney, but that the condition would be that if it's not, that it would have to come back before you.
So we could not make some sort of a motion. We couldn't move that, as an example, that we approve this Solaris Country Gray CertainTeed Presidential Shake, whether it's TL or not, and that any future roofing material on a accessory structure match that material, something like that.
No, what's before you is that you're only approving what's
What's
before you.
written.
You're approving the material on the residence.
Yeah.
Staff, on the other hand, would have to make sure that whatever is installed on the accessory structure or any other structure is consistent with what's in the main residence.
Are there any other questions for staff? Okay. Does any member of the public present here wish to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, staff, do we have any public comments submitted electronically?
No, Chair, we do not.
Thank you. We'll close the public comment portion of this and bring it back to the committee for discussion. Committee Member Batnish.
So I think that this roof looks okay. I think it's fine. I think the color is okay. I think the material appears to be okay. It has some definition to the shake, and it makes me think that it could be a TL, but I'm not sure. I don't think that I'm qualified to judge that. I think it would be fine if this material would be matched on an accessory structure, even though I know that that's not what we're being asked. I think the house has been very well maintained. The window, all of the work that's been done on it has been very respectful of the, very, very handsome architecture of this home. So I could approve whatever was installed on this home. But I think given what we heard, perhaps the best option would be to continue it in order to verify what is on the house, and then perhaps we could come back and potentially approve once we are certain what that is, in order to help the applicant get their other roof approved.
You did not miss, what you said was exactly what staff had mentioned, but if there's entertainment from this committee to approve what's installed, regardless of what you call it, then I think you can place a condition that staff confirm what the actual material is, so that moving forward, staff knows exactly what to approve on any
Okay,
subsequent.
that would be my wish. I think that this material, as it's installed, whatever this material is, looks acceptable on the home. And so, yes, that would be my preference. You just described.
Vice Chair Chow.
Thank you, Chair. I think that something to keep in mind is that when we hear these cases, especially with cases that's after the fact, is to really focus on the design guidelines, the codes, what we're we are on this committee because of certain reasons. So if we start to inject a lot of these more subjective opinions, I think that could open some other questions. So I tend to agree with staff's finding. I think there's just not other. It's not meeting the finding number one. So for that reason alone, I cannot support it. We have to look at the guidelines. We have to be as objective as possible. That is my view.
Committee Member Lakon.
Thank you. I think I have to agree with Vice Chair Chow. And although I find the material to be acceptable looking, if it's not compatible in the neighborhood, then I wouldn't be able to support it. And I would have to probably support a denial in this case.
Committee Member Chang.
I can support a continuance for staff to find out what's up there, and so that we can make a more informed decision. Currently, what's out there looks adequate, but we don't know what it is, and so it's very hard to approve something without knowing what's up there. That I was asking the question, what are we approving to? What material up there? If we don't know, it could be dangerous because we don't know what we're approving. So I think it will be good if we know staff and the applicant and the roofer to come back and say, well, this is exactly what that is. And we know the spec, we know whether that would be the material that we looked at or completely out of the picture. We just don't know because the permit did not identify what was installed. What the permit said is what's being installed is two different things. And we don't know what's installed. So I can continue it, but until we find out more facts in front of us.
So if staff determines that.
Staff could determine that working with the applicant, yeah.
But again, if staff determines that, they're not going to determine that it's natural wood shake. I mean, they're not, I mean, how are we going to make this finding?
If they find out that, let's say it's a TL presidential roof that's out there now, maybe back in 2015, it's a different thickness or different type or whatever it is, at least we'll know what we are approving. Or if it's a GAF material or something that we never looked at, we don't know from a distance. You just cannot tell by looking at it. But it's easy to find if they had a permit. I don't know if the roofer that installed it still around. If they're around, they'll just pull up the material, deliver slip. We'll know exactly what was delivered, what was installed. So we know what we are approving. At least on the record, we are approving something not just by the look of it, but at least the material and the color.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, knowing what the material is.
Because otherwise you're approving based on the look. Yeah, it looks good then.
We can't do
Well,
that, right?
can I,
I have more comments or we finish our first committee? I have, because they're asking us to approve something. We've never approved presidential. We've only approved TLs. So if it was coming to us, we've never had one come to us that we approved without the TL. So on its own, the application on its own, I don't think if it was on the roof already, we would approve this. We would ask the applicant to consider the TL. In this case, it looks like we can't. It's not an option.
I'd like to circle back a little bit. I'd just like to present the idea of considering finding number one again. Why are we even discussing what material this is? It does not meet finding number one. Can anybody argue with that point? So I just like to be objective, because if we start to say, well, I think this looks fine. What about the next case? If someone else comes again saying that, hey, I'm the only house on the block, on the legal block, wants to have a composition shingle, are we gonna say, yeah, I think that looks okay. Let's just ignore finding number one. So that is my concern. I just want to present that.
I think, it's interesting you bring that up, because the first item that we looked at tonight was because of a domino. If I remember correctly, it was, I believe that I voted against that, but anyway, that was the only one in the neighborhood. And, that one was, became, I think, one of these composition shingles, I think presidential. And that became the basis for the approval of the other house tonight. So you make a really good point. I just thought that in this particular house with the roof pitch, and I just thought it looked good enough to approve. I've always found it troubling a little bit, this idea of the compatibility, but I also think it is helpful. There are some neighborhoods that are, really consistent in their, I actually was on the street and saw a couple of houses that nearby that did not appear to be wood shake to me. So I was a little confused by that, but it was starting to get dark, so I may not have even assessed that correctly. And I understand that that's been checked, but I mean, you make a really good point. I just thought that this looked acceptable on this particular house, given the roof pitch, and perhaps because the rest of the house is being maintained so nicely that it still, looked, the architecture was still retained its character defining features.
If I may just make one more quick comment, and then I'll keep quiet. I guess the design review is not all just black and white. It's not always a yes and no question and answer. If it is, I don't think we need 5 people or 6 people to have different opinion. That's why the vote are not exactly every time the same, because I think design is very subjective to a certain individual. And so we have approved a lot of different roofing, different projects, and some we would say, okay, it would work because of that style home in the neighborhood, the height, the pitch, the style, the color. I think all of those cannot be just black and white. And they said, well, if it doesn't meet that, then it's automatic out. So I think we need different opinions, and that's why we have all different background and different way to look at it, and that's how we come to the final result that the city still look pretty darn good right now.
Madam Chair, since the first item was brought up, and as we recall, the applicants had raised the issue of costs, which is an item that you can consider for approving a material request that is not on the pre-approved list. And so that's in addition to other factors that you can consider, which are durability, quality, and cost of construction materials. So you have a material that it's still unknown to us what it is, but that has seemed to have generated some interest from the committee in terms of its appeal, that it looks somewhat good. Therefore, it can be considered to be durable, cost effective, and perhaps of good quality. So I think one of the ways that we can approach this is to continue the project so that we can find out what is actually installed, and assuming that the applicant is raising the issue of durability and quality of the item, that's something that you can consider. Better information at hand, not to say that you're saying that you would approve it, but more that you would consider it under those terms.
Well, I really appreciate that input, Director. And to be reminded of some of the factors that we can consider. So for me, at most I could consider a continuance. So if the consensus view is a continuance, especially perhaps in light of the comments of the director, because otherwise I do agree with Vice Chair Chow that can't make the finding. I did check with staff because I also thought that in the legal neighborhood, it appeared that there was composition shingle, but I have been, and specific properties, but I have been informed that that's not the case. It's wood shake or simulated wood, and that there is no comp shingle in the legal neighborhood. So I did probe that with staff, and I have had that confirmed by staff. Right.
Is that confirmation with staff according to the permits? I mean, it should matter what's permitted and what's not, but
the investigation was based on the permits, on the information contained within the permits.
Lots of question marks.
That's a little bit of a can of worms there. I think it is important for people sitting here. We don't want to waste everyone's time, staff's time, applicants' time, if we're going to come back and say, like, maybe we should discuss this as, if this is presidential shake, TL, Solaris, and Country Gray, what would would that change the decision? I'm hearing perhaps no. And why would we take the applicant and staff's time if that's the case? I'm not sure if I am deciphering everyone's potential vote here or where they're leaning, but would anyone's vote be different? Would the people who have expressed reluctance to approve this, I guess I'm wondering if that would change anything.
To me, it may, because if it's a pre-approved material by the city, and if this particular building is not going to be so special, has so much value that it cannot take this roofing, we have approved a lot of projects in the general neighborhood that are similar to that, and why would they are being singled out? Now, if they're not, then of course it's a different story. The solution is that by rejecting it or denying it, I think that go back to the permit issue. we're telling the applicant to tear out what's in there now and come back with a material that is quote unquote approvable on the main house. Forget about the project now. So then they're gonna have to come back, reapprove the project because they have pulled a permit that it says a different material. And what I think this is also a lesson learned. I think we need to look into that. So to stop this from happening, if somebody come in and pull a permit for a P-approved material, go to the job site, install something else, and then never call inspection to approve that, and the permit died and expired. This is the case. How is the city going to? How are we going to be protecting our future projects doing the same thing? They got a permit, they got the approval, but they just never call final. If they don't add anything and being called out this time, we'll never know. How are we going to know every roof that is being installed? I think it's a lesson learned that we need to come up with some way to make sure that any expired permit that was never final and checked with the what's approved and what's installed should be red flagged, and then we just go look into it.
Right.
I just,
Right.
Right.
yeah.
And this was years
my
ago.
thought. Yeah, it's important that we don't know. So this one, let's find out what's in here, what's being installed. Without being what's installed, I have problem. It's determined tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say with all due respect, I think your last point is very well taken. Clearly, I think that everybody would agree with that. That's a huge concern. But I don't agree that this committee has approved presidential TL, certainty of presidential TL, where there has not been comp shingle in the legal neighborhood.
But we basically just did
I
it
second
tonight.
that. No, that's different.
I
That was my point.
when did
I
we do
was
it
going,
tonight? There was comp shingle in the legal neighborhood in item number 1. The findings were made.
yeah, I just want to answer, committee member Bandish's question. No, that would not have changed my vote. Even knowing, what type of material. And secondly, we're not singling out anybody. Back to, the chair's point, we have never approved, composition shingle, when, there is no composition shingle, in the legal neighborhood. That is my recollection.
Ridgeway.
That's,
That was not, okay.
Just a
I don't want to get far afield because now we're discussing,
Just a reminder, when we speak, to make sure that we speak into the microphone when they're on. And
I don't know how appropriate it was to be talking about, but I will just say that I was here for that, and we were informed for that property that you're referencing that it was in the legal neighborhood. I did not believe it was in the legal neighborhood, but we were informed that it was in the legal neighborhood. So the original one, yeah, it was.
Oh, from,
Yeah.
well, that was,
I
that
recall it
was,
very vividly.
that was approved based on another one. It's
Oh, it was
It's
another
Domino.
Domino that
One
we-
was
maybe I
here.
had-
That was
I
approved with
didn't- yeah,
nothing,
you're-
with,
you
that
might
was
have
approved
made-
without
yeah.
one in their legal neighborhood because it was a two-story house. You couldn't see the roof.
Right.
It was a colonial,
And that was,
Yeah.
and then that
right.
but I do,
precedent for the one
I do
Ruby
think
corner,
when,
and then now it's not.
I guess the reason
I think when committee member Chen is trying to explain is that it's not necessarily this committee itself, but the committee at large in its history has approved homes where there wasn't composition shingle before. I think that's what he was referring to. However, at this point, I encourage you to think of either a continuance or perhaps following staff's direction in regards to the recommendation.
If I may, Chair, can I try to make a motion then?
Yes.
Certainly, if you would like to have more discussion.
Does anybody think we
Okay.
need more discussion? I think we've.
Okay.
Okay. Committee Member
Um,
Batnage, do you
so-
have an additional comment?
anticipating what you're anticipating what your motion might be. I just want to clarify that 3 people's minds would not be changed if it came back. I just want to ask, I think the 3 of you, would it matter if we found out that this was presidential shake TL? I think it matters. I don't want to say who it matters to, but it wouldn't change your mind. Would it change the your minds? Because if it's not, I think that the motion that we make should be mindful of not wasting everybody's time.
Well, that's an interesting point, but just look at item number 1 today. So it had evolved, right? So nobody knows.
Right,
Um,
True.
Oh,
true,
just based on
True.
what's in front of us
True.
today.
True.
So, okay, in light of that, I'll make a motion to deny DR 23-101 at 2250 Melville Drive as staff recommended.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
No.
Committee Member Batnich,
No.
Vice Chair Chow,
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. I'm sorry, 3-2.
Thank you. We will move on to the consent calendar. Do we have a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Are we going to say what we're approving? Can you be a little bit more specific?
Yes. Approve everything. I'm sorry, I
Number
have to
7.
find my notes.
That's okay. I'll, shall I take it? Yeah. Okay. I'll move to approve the minutes of the Design Review Committee meeting, regular meeting of November 1, 2023, as submitted.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
May we have roll call?
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Committee Member Batnich,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chow,
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And we are ready for the director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there's 2 remaining meetings for the rest of the year, December 6th and December 20th. We do have a full agenda for both of those so far forecasted. We have between 10 and 11 projects. If all of those come forward, obviously we'll make sure to balance out the projects so they're not top heavy on one over the other. Our goal was hopefully if any of those projects were to fall off the forecast, to hopefully bring back the colors materials that of the remaining roof materials that were part of your review last time, but we didn't have the samples. Knowing that some of you might not be here for the December 20th, I think the best thing to do, basically consultation with the chair and vice chair, is to have that meeting on the first meeting in January, which would be, I don't have the date, but it would not be January 3rd, I think. It would be the 17th, if I'm correct. I'm not sure. So that's our expectation, is hopefully we will have that in that meeting. It wouldn't be a special meeting or just a meeting dedicated for that, because you're only looking at a limited number of samples. So we think we can integrate that with whatever projects we have. So that's what we have looking forward to, that meeting. And so I know that for the December 6th and 20th, committee member Lakon is not going to attend. We'll have committee member Torgerson attend both of those, I believe. 20th, correct?
Not here also.
And you're not here for
20th.
Yeah. So you're here the 6th, but not 20th? Thought you were not here for both. We'll confirm, but we have enough, we have enough members to have a
Do we?
quorum.
Vice Chair and pardon? Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that given how much effort and the progress that we made in the last meeting, that it was appropriate to go forward with the remainder of the roofing materials without all of us being present. So hopefully everybody agrees with that.
So
Okay.
if that's, so being that the point, our goal is to, as soon as have a recommendation from you on that January meeting.
January
January
17th.
17th, that we can move forward to present to the planning commission as soon as possible thereafter. So that we're looking at that at this point, a February or March meeting with the planning commission, depending on projects. Also a reminder, per code, there's no construction allowed on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, and the following day, Friday. Both of those days per code are not allowed to have construction. And just a heads up, the same will follow for this Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So for all those who are watching, those days construction is not allowed. We do have a code enforcement presence during those days. So if you're doing construction during those days and we get a complaint, we are going to visit you and potentially cite you. Other than that, staff would just like to extend a happy Thanksgiving to all of you. We're grateful for all the work that you do, and we wish you a safe Thanksgiving Day with you and all your loved ones. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And likewise, happy Thanksgiving, and appreciate all of the work and efforts of the staff tonight and always. Is that anything, any other items to discuss? Okay. With no further business to discuss, the meeting is adjourned at 8:26 p.m. and the next Design Review Committee meeting will be held on December 6, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Barth Room of Kroll Public Library. Thank you very much.